Hello, I have another bonus video using the Mountain Majesties Paper Pumpkin Kit from May combined with the Scenic Adventure Dies. So let's dive right in and put this card together. This is a beauty. All right, so for this card, you're going to need a half a sheet of pecan pie cardstock. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So far, so good and simple. Let's just give this a good burnish. Next, you're going to need to cut yourself a label using the Hugs a Bloom dies that coordinate with the with this month's kit and April's and June's kit as well. So Hugs a Bloom. In that set, there's this great label die. So that's what I've got right there. I love the stitching line on this. We're actually going to use this die vertically rather than horizontally. So it's going to go that way. And you're going to need some pieces from the kit. So I have a piece of the blue vellum. I have a piece of the olive vellum. And then this is a die, well, it's not a die cut, but it's one of the pieces that you punch out from the kit that's pecan pie, and it's got a couple layers in there. So we're going to use all three of these. And then we're also going to, as you can see from the card, we're going to need a couple die cuts here. So I have the trees. These are trees. So this particular die, this is my favorite die from the Scenic Adventures, is this nice large double tree. You're going to need 2 sets of trees and a set of, I'm going to call these the faraway trees. So these are further off in the distant, in the distance there. So these are more in the foreground. These are going to be in the background. So this is, you can see it's kind of like a border die. We're not going to need that much. We're only going to need what we need for our card, for across our card front. But this is pecan pie. And then same thing, I have cut the little floral die cut here, which kind of cuts a border. I've just actually cut it 3 times. So there was once, twice, and there's the third one. And so I'm just going to snip this apart for now, and we'll size this just the way we want it here in just a minute. So those are the pieces that I'll be using for the front of my card. Then one last piece that I have, and this is a 1/4 sheet that will be used to set inside my card. We're also going to need some linen thread. So here's my linen thread. All right, so let's see. Let me just kind of move some things out of the way, and we'll kind of get things started. And I think what I want to do is let's just start with gluing down a couple pieces that we can kind of anchor to our card. I'm going to flip this over. But we're going to anchor these to our card now. That way they're just kind of out of the way and we don't have to worry about them. The first is going to be this pecan pie piece. Okay, this is actually going to go, instead of, it goes this way on the cards that you make, but I'm going to put this one on upside down. And so it's going to kind of represent our sky. So there's that piece there. That was pretty easy. And I'm going to do this piece here. And with this piece here, I am going to do the slightest. I am just going to barely use my glue here because I don't want it to show through. So I'm just going to, and it's taking me a little bit here because I just want it to come out in just tiny little like speckly droplets, okay? And I'm coming up the sides just a little bit, but just a teeny tiny amount of glue. And I might even kind of brush that. I'm going to brush it with just kind of a piece of paper here. This is just a scrap. And I'm just thinning it out a little bit so that nothing shows through. Okay? You always have to be a little clever when it comes to vellum. Okay, so now this piece here, whoops, I am going to put that down. I'm going to put this one down first. Same deal here. I can be a little bit easier with my glue, and I'm not sticking everything down just yet because I can tuck a little glue and stuff once I get my trees in there, and then that way you won't see the adhesive because see, you can see that. Okay, but that's okay because we're going to take this one and cover right over top. Okay, so far so good. And I think this is a really cool background that we've set up here. All right, so now let's have some fun. We're going to have some fun because we're going to do some ink blending. So I have just a piece of scratch paper here, and I'm going to bring in my trees, and I'm going to bring in the spot from the kit, and oops, I grabbed the wrong color blending brush. Hold on, I want a dark blue or a medium blue blending brush. Here we go. So let me add a little ink here, and then I'll just kind of rub some off, and I'm just going to come in and give some ink to these trees. Gives them just a little bit of interest, a little bit of depth and dimension. You don't have to do a ton, but I mean, look how cool that is to just kind of leave that behind. But that's all I'm going to do. Maybe just a skosh more. Okay. So adding a little dimension to our trees here. Let's do this one as well. And just having some fun. Okay, so those are my trees. We're going to do the same thing with these trees as well. And so we're going to do that with a pecan pie. So this is a pecan pie spot from a previous paper pumpkin kit. I don't remember which one. Obviously, you can use a full-size pecan pie or any brown that you have. Doesn't have to be exactly. And so I'm just going to come in and do the same thing. We're just going to hit the tops of these trees. Okay. Just adding a little bit of dimension. I love it when we get a little bit of a, two-tone effect coming where we've got some darker areas and lighter. Just kind of brings things to life. So there's a little bit of that in there. And let's do the same thing with the flowers. And I can see I've got a few little pieces here that need to be poked out. Okay, so I'm going to come in with a little bit of, I have some mossy meadow. Oops. Okay, so here's some mossy meadow. Let me just kind of check my brush here. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of gently come in and do a little bit on these flowers. Okay, good enough. So I'll set those all aside. And it looks like I have a few more spots that I need to poke out here. Right there and right there. Those may not even end up being in the card itself. But while I have my scratch paper here, let me do a few more little things. We're going to take our Stampin' Spot. And I'm going to take my greeting that says happy birthday. So this is one of the images from the Mountain Majesties Paper Pumpkin Kit. I really like the greetings in this kit. I can see them being out more than just for this kit, but kind of being out on my desk and being a little bit more handy to use more often. So just a straight, stamp in there, nothing too fancy, but I do want to add just a little bit of speckling to my label here. And so I'm using Pecan Pie and Misty Moonlight. Now, I happen to grab dark and dark. It doesn't matter. Grab whatever colors you want. Just have them be part of the, your color palette somehow, right? So there's a little bit of Pecan Pie. And come on, Misty Moonlight. There it goes. I needed to give it just a little bit of a harder hit. And there's a little Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to take an 1/8 inch hole punch and add a hole to each end here. Trying to center that. And just like that. So now my pieces are prepped and we can start to assemble this pretty card. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my trees in here, and I'm going to slip this piece. So if you remember, I didn't glue the sides down. That was intentional. So I'm going to slip this piece in here, and I'm going to kind of following this curve right in here, this one under here, and I'm kind of reaching my trees in like so. I kind of like that. And so once I have it the way I want, then I'm going to go ahead, and now that I see it, I can go ahead and add a little glue here. And we'll slip this underneath. Just try and get that back in there. Okay. And I'm going to bring in a cutter and chop the sides off. I'm going to do that now so that I'm not having to go through so many thicknesses by the time I put this one in as well. So I like to use my mini cutter here, and I'm actually going to flip it over and do it from the back so I can see what I'm cutting away. So be sure that you're not going to cut your card, but just that one layer. Okay, there's that one. They can open this up and get this other layer right in here. Okay. Look how great that looks. I love it. All right, keep going. Let's do the same thing with our flowers. And so this one, you know, you might have to angle and do some cuteness too. And I didn't care if the line showed through, because to me, it was just kind of like some of these other lines and like the rest of the kit. But I kind of want to work this such that I'm following right along that line of the vellum that they gave us. So that's what we're going to do with that one. Pop a little glue here in the middle. Slide that in. Oh, so cute. And it's not cute, but I mean, it's just so cool. I love these pieces. This particular bundle has moved right up to the top of my favorites list. I just can't seem to get enough of it. I just love it. Okay, so making sure I'm just cutting the olive color and not the fold of my card. That would be a bummer. Okay, there we have it. And just like that, we've got a really cool background here. So let's add the trees in. So these trees, I'm going to put these trees in, and I'm going to do something a little bit weird, and that is I'm going to glue the bases in, but I'm going to put mini dimensionals on the top here, just to give it a little bit of lift. Let's see, do I have some mini dimensionals? I don't. I have dimensionals that I'm having to chop up. I have mini dimensionals on order. Okay, but these will work just fine for now. So let's do that. So I'm just going to kind of do my dimensionals like that. Dump these off to the sides. And so let me tuck a little glue on these, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to kind of lift my green flowers. Let's see. I'm going to bring in my hobby blade. You could use hobby blade. You could use the spatula end. But I'm just trying to lift these up a little bit. There we go. That's just what I needed. A little assist. A little assist right there. Okay. I love it. There's that. And then for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this into a single tree. So I'm just going to kind of make up my own shapes here. And I'm going to kind of come around this. So if it looks a little funny, maybe we'll change right there. Oh boy, the dogs have been barking today. Okay, So there, I've kind of styled my tree just a little bit better. But you know what? I want just a little bit more, I want a little bit more ink here. So let me add just a little ink to this side because that's going to show. So let's get this side going. Okay. Now you can save that and tuck that into another project if you want. In fact, I did. On my mini album, I actually tucked those types of pieces behind pictures, so you can't even tell that it's just a portion of a tree. So if you're wondering what mini album I'm talking about, there is another bonus video using this paper pumpkin kit, and I've made a mini album that uses 3 envelopes and 3 card bases. So you'll definitely want to check that video out. It's really good. All right, and now this one, we're just going to kind of tuck right in there like so. Cool. I love it. I think I want it a little bit higher though. So just a little bit. Whoops. Don't let go. There we go. Get that in there. Now this last piece here, we're going to put this on with some dimensionals. So I'm just going to do a couple here, right up there at the top and the bottom. And here's where it gets a little bit fumbly. And because when I originally did this, it took me a while to get it just the way I liked it. But hopefully I can do it quick enough. All right, here's what I'm going to do. If you'll notice, my linen thread is looped through here. Okay. So we have this loop that comes through. And now I'm going to go ahead and set this on my card base. And I'll have to just kind of come up through. I can get up through there. But this is just going to kind of set right up in here, like so. Okay. And now we'll take our linen thread and go to the inside of our card and come out this other way. And see, this is where I need this end to be a lot longer. So this is what took me a while last time, but it's a cool effect. And so this is, you know, the card, it's kind of special. So we need some special guy cards. So this is to me kind of a nice masculine look. Yet it has, even though it's got some flowers, you know, has a masculine feel to it. So bringing this around, and I think I might have enough. I think I want just a little bit more. Sorry, folks. Pardon the delay. So you're going to want this tail here to be long enough to come up and around and to come through. So you're going to take that one, that tail, and you're going to bring it through this hole. Let's see if I can do this with ease. Here, if I just kind of lift that up a little bit. Yeah, right. We'll go like this. There we go. Okay, I did it. Sorry for the delay again. Okay, so that's coming around. This one, this is the bolt end. It was with it. It just kind of escaped for a second. So now this one, you're just going to take, and now you're going to tie your bow. And I could cut my end off, but I'm working from the bolt here. But I'm just going to kind of wiggle this into place so that my knot of my bow is right down here where this hole is, okay? So now I can kind of, let's just trim this off so that I'm not fighting that. So, and I can wiggle these into place in just a minute, but I'm just going to kind of tie my bow. Okay. And I have to fiddle with these, you know, sometimes it's not the perfect bow the first time, and sometimes it's pretty good. I kind of like this one. It's one of those, sometimes it's pretty good, other than this flip. But there's my linen thread, and I like how it wraps around and to the inside of the card. It's kind of fun. And if it crisscrosses and you don't want that, then just work that out, that it crisscrosses somewhere. else than on the inside, however you want to do it. But I think it's kind of fun, kind of different. All right. And then I have got some in color flat pearls. Now these in color flat pearls, it looks like I have one secret C left, but I have a bunch of cloud cover. So I'm going to use, some cloud cover for this one. And here's a medium. And let's see, where did I put them? So I have, it looks like I have a medium right about here. And, you know, this is the secret C, but look, the cloud cover looks great too. It looks like I did a small, so let's do a small over here, right by this tree. It's almost like an extension of the tree, but it's right on the kind of the grass line here. And then I did a large, and I'm going to do a large and kind of tuck it so that it's peeking from behind. Sorry if I was out of the camera there. I get so involved, I don't even always look up at the camera to see where I am. But there is that last gem right there. And then, of course, we talked about our inside piece here. And so for my inside piece, I'm going to take a little bit of that ink and just sponge the corner. Sponge, blend, whatever you want to call this. Just a little highlight on that corner. And I'm not going to stamp the inside just yet. On my original, I'll show it to you in a minute. My original, it had To a Wonderful Man. But like I said, this could be masculine, but it might end up being, wow, super juicy. That's okay. Glad it wasn't in the middle. And then here's my second color, just to bring that through to the, you know, we've got a little bit of the front carrying into the inside. And so we'll take that, and this will layer right inside my card. And would you know it? Oh, I'm like, I lost my card. It was under. And so this one is just going to set inside there. And of course, it looks like I'm going to need to trim it a little bit, but I'll do that off camera. I can see that a little bit of the white is poking out. So I would just take a hairline off one side so that it sits in there nicely and, you know, doesn't show from the outside. But there you have. That's another card using the Mountain Majesties and the Scenic Adventures bundle. I was going to call it the Scenic Beauty. So pretty stuff. I really, really enjoy this. Here's a look at the inside of this card. Now this card I designed when I first did it. I did it as a top fold, but then I had to kind of punch a hole to get my linen thread through. So that's why I switched up to a side fold. But there it is, To a Wonderful Man, and there's more of those flat pearls on the inside. So fun stuff. I hope you guys like the Mountain Majesties kit. I have totally loved it. Check back for another video. Bye-bye.